Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of the Monsters Den. We've got in the co-captain's chairs today, Mr. Chris Sallow, Mr. Rich Catino, making his return to the show in since about a month, right? Month and a half?
Maybe about a month-ish.
Yeah, you and I did that Stephen King show when Chris was out.
Yeah.
I think Chris was out enjoying some wrestling, I think, or something.
Yes, in August. So
yeah. So welcome back, guys. Today we're going to kind of an interesting show today. So we're not necessarily talking specifically about films today, sort of, but we're going to be recapping last weekend, where the three of us went, along with Dan Brown as well, went to the Chiller Theatre Expo or convention, whatever you want to call it, in Parsippany, New Jersey, a long-standing 30-year event that happens almost every year, except for last.
Has it been going that long?
Yeah.
30 years, man.
It's actually twice a year.
Oh, that's right, twice a year.
Yeah,
for
twice
30
a year
years.
for the last 30 years.
I don't know if it was twice a year every single year, but it's celebrated.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was.
Even from the beginning. Wow. Okay.
I mean, I started going in like 1992 maybe.
So that was also almost
the beginning. Twice a year then. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, 30 years of Chiller Theater. So for those of you who are unaware of what Chiller Theater is, generally speaking, always held somewhere in New Jersey, usually at a hotel. It's usually
used to be in
Friday,
East Rutherford, right?
East Rutherford for many, many years. At a much
it was in the Hilton. When first it was a movie theater when it first started was I forget where, and then I started going. It was at the Farley Dickinson University at the college gym, which was my favorite because it was all on one level. You couldn't lose anybody because everybody was on the one level. And then after that, they started to go to hotels.
Yeah, yeah. And 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, usually Friday, late afternoon, early evening, all day Saturday, and most of the day on Sunday or half the day on Sunday. And, you know, historically, Chiller Theater was very much horror film driven. So you had movie stars, A, B, and C list stars from, you know, big horror films as well as other non-genre films.
And a lot of sci-fi. I'm sorry, Pete. A lot of sci-fi and fantasy too.
Yeah, sci-fi, absolutely, and comic book stuff too.
A lot, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But, you know, in addition to all the stars, so you'd have like all these stars who were there signing their stuff, doing autographs and picture taking and all that kind of stuff. Lots of vendors selling toys and movies and books and statues and costumes and whatever else I'm missing here.
Yeah,
all sorts of stuff, old and new. So, you know, if you're like a horror, fantasy, sci-fi, Hollywood movie, comic book fan, this was the place to be.
Yep.
And if your years got more and more popular.
And if you're looking to find a collectible, this is kind of the place to find it too.
That's a good point.
Everyone's got everything, whether it's in the package, if it's loose, if it's new, if it's 50 years old, everybody's got almost anything you're looking for.
Yeah, I would say I kind of equate Chiller Theater at its like real heyday was kind of like the equivalent for fans of this kind of stuff, almost like maybe not Comic-Con at its zenith, but a very busy, popular Comic-Con, right?
Yeah.
To a smaller extent.
And I mean, if you go to Comic-Con now, it's hardly any comic books. It's all collectibles and toys and statues and posters and costumes and everything else. You have a tough time finding a comic book at Comic-Con.
I know.
Not how it used to be, but that's how it is now.
Well, that's a good point because, and we're going to talk about what we experienced at Chiller last weekend. I found a lot of things that were going on at Chiller this year, not really that much horror related for the most part. You know, you had, usually speaking, a lot of the stars that were at these events were a who's who of all these different horror films, whether they would be unknown cast members, be, you know, the co-stars, the big stars. I mean, when you're like your biggest draw in 2021 is Scott Baio, and that seemed to be the only person that anybody was interested in this year, something's afoot here.
No, though, you're coming out of COVID too.
Well, they
didn't have it last year too, so I think it's a little different too. That affected maybe the numbers and the number of guests and how many they could have and a lot of things. Maybe it'll change in April, you know, but
And that could be, yeah, that could be. And
Although
then-
historically,
that's a good
they Chiller in October, and this always fascinated me, because Chiller in October always takes place around Halloween. There's always more people that attend the October Chiller than the spring Chiller. And I just, me personally, since I like horror all year long, I was always like,
It doesn't
well,
matter,
what?
right?
It doesn't matter. So what? Like you're only going because you're like a fake poser fucking horror movie person. So you
No,
want to
you know
go at
why?
Halloween, but you don't want to go in April?
Because it's Halloween weekend, and that's usually when it is too, and that's the big draw too, you know, because everybody then dresses up in their costumes.
Right.
They're watching
but-
more horror movies too, so I think that's also another good. It's a good event, you know what I mean, around
Oh
Halloween.
yeah, I guess if you want to get into the spirit of things, but to Chris's point,
Yeah.
you should be interested in going to Chiller
True,
in
true. I
December,
understand.
February. It doesn't
I
matter.
don't go twice. I don't always go twice. Sometimes I'll just go in October. Or
But you're
I'll
right,
just go-
Chris. I mean,
And
I've
I'll do
gone
both,
into the
you
April
know?
one in the past, and the April one is poorly attended.
Yeah, it's never as packed as the October one. And yeah, to Rich's point, this one was the first one since I guess fall of 2019.
Yeah.
So this is the first one in 2 years.
Yeah.
So there was
Noticed,
a good amount of people.
All right. So in addition to, I mean, you met Kevin Sullivan, the legendary wrestler. I didn't get anything signed. There were some of the zombies from Night of the Living Dead, Sybil
And
Dan.
yeah.
We were talking about, how we were there mostly to get a few things and not really doing the signing thing. Remember, because we said we've done it so many times before that it was nice to just kind of just check out the vendors and everything and not have to worry about standing online and waiting to get, autographs. Plus they were a little pricey too, some of
They
them.
were pricey. Yeah, they were
Yeah.
pricey. But
Yeah,
we
so-
noticed that there was not as many vendors either.
No, it was
There was two
definitely.
rooms, right? 2 rooms and then the main
I mean,
hallway. that we were in?
it was the hallway, and then
Right.
the one vendor room, and then there was a couple little side rooms for the guests, but the guests had also had vendor tables.
Yeah.
But there was that whole other like sunken in area that used to have guests and vendors, and they don't have that anymore. I mean, it was still, there's still a good amount of vendors, not as much as certain other conventions, but more than other conventions. Like I went, I guess it was before COVID hit, I went to the same exact building for the KISS convention, and there was like a third of the vendors, it felt like, at the KISS convention compared to Chiller. It was way smaller, and it was the same amount of money. So
When's the last time one of those happened? KISS convention.
I
It's been
want to
years,
say
right?
2019. I went to it there, Rich. It was 2019.
Oh, really? They did one in 2019?
I'm almost positive.
And speaking of,
Ace Frehley was the main guest, and he played a set, which I didn't stick around for.
so as you're talking about, the amount of horror and things that was there, Pete, when you were at the KISS convention, remember years ago, it used to be a ton of vinyl and CDs and DVDs you could get. Was it the same like that? Could you get like parts of your vinyl collection at the KISS convention too, or that was smaller as well?
You could, but what was annoying to me was years back, the KISS convention, like it wasn't just a KISS convention. It was like the hard rock heavy metal flea market. Like you could
Yes.
find everything. And
Yep.
like to me, the KISS convention was the size of Chiller, because Pete Pardo could have been there selling his wares, but Pete had Judas Priest and Iron Maiden and Scorpions and everything else. When I went to the last KISS convention, which I think was 2019, and the reason I didn't stick around for Ace Frehley was there was an Exhumed Films show, I think, that I was going to. So I kind of split my time. But everybody, it was just KISS. They did not,
Really?
if I remember right, they didn't want you selling stuff that really wasn't KISS.
Oh.
So you would find I remember I picked up like an old Judas Priest tour program, but it wasn't much that wasn't KISS. And to me, that was that convention. Sorry, KISS promoter, whoever the fuck you are. That show was very disappointing. So to me, Chiller is still worth the value. Whereas,
It's still focused on horror, sci-fi, fantasy, some comics, superheroes, things like that. Yeah.
But the worst is no different than Chiller Theatre. Lita Ford was one of the big guests. I went to her table like 4 fucking times at the Kiss convention, and she was not there the whole time. But of course, everybody else I talked to was like, "Oh yeah, no, I met her. She was a doll. I got her autograph. I squeezed her butt. We made out. Whatever." Me, I'm just trying to get a goddamn autograph, and she's never there.
No autograph for you.
No. But that happens at Chiller too. There's so many guests, and listen, it's hard to find people, even though they say Joe Bag of Donuts is signing in room 6B. You go to 6B, and oh no, Joe had to move because he's So
I mean, I was looking around for Lance Kerwin because I wanted him to sign my sales lot Blu-ray. I never saw his name anywhere in there. And then later on, I'm like, oh yeah, I met Lance Kerwin. I'm like, where was
that guy? The guy. Shout out to my friend Lloyd, who we saw on the line there. He had a picture with Lance Kerwin, and he said that Lance Kerwin was buried behind the Sam Jones line, and Sam Jones was Flash Gordon. So I was like, okay, that's why we never saw him.
Okay, that explains that then. Okay. No, whatever. But there were a lot of.
So what did you guys have?
We saw? First of all, how many vendors were still selling like old DVDs?
That blew my mind, Pete. The amount of vendors. Yeah, but that's a real Blu-ray.
That's a Blu-ray, yeah.
Yeah, that was right. That was a real one. Yep.
What blew my mind was all these people selling bootleg DVDs of stuff you could just watch for free on YouTube. I mean, I love bootlegs and I love bootleg DVDs, and it definitely has its place, but there was a lot of bootleg DVDs. Like, wow, people still, and some of them were outrageously priced.
Oh, like $40, $30.
Some of them are, $20, $40 for a double. It's like, dude, get out of here. I could watch
like
this
we
shit
had gone
for
back
free.
in time to like 1999,
Yes.
or something like that, right?
When you had to, because nobody was officially putting them out.
Right.
Yeah.
Or they weren't extras on a Blu-ray release or something,
Yeah. So that was a shocker that there was that many guys with, aftermarket bootleg DVDs, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah. And one of the things that we were talking about during the afternoon or during the morning there is that I think we've gotten spoiled over the last bunch of years, because now it's, in the old days, I used to look forward to going to Chiller because I'm like, all right, I can go to Chiller. I'm going to find a couple of, Bandai Godzilla figures that I haven't been able to get anywhere else. I'm going to be able to find a couple of cool DVDs that I can't buy and
can't find anywhere. Yeah.
Best Buy or, whatever store. But now it's like, you don't need to wait to go to a Chiller because you can find anything you want on a million different websites on the internet. So like, we're walking around Chiller and we're like, we laugh because like we wind up spending most of our money and time at the Vinegar Syndrome booth, which is a place that we buy online from all the time anyway.
And they have a store in Connecticut. We could just drive there and just buy the same shit from them in Connecticut.
Yeah, so I mean, Rich found some cool stuff. You were talking to Kevin Sullivan, and Rich is like talking to the Christmas ornament guy, and you have it.
Yes,
I was going to say he's the Christmas ornament guy.
Yep.
And it's on Facebook, and you guys know my favorite Godzilla monster, one of the most lesser known guys. Yep. And he actually had an ornament for Varan. I was like, no freaking way.
Yeah,
that is too cool. And they're amazing looking. I mean, his paint jobs are incredible.
And you're never going to get that anywhere else. Ever.
No, I was going to say that guy only need to make one because nobody else is looking for a Varan.
Just me, but it's going to be awesome on my tree. It's going to be awesome. Nice. But
yeah, if you're looking Chris, if you didn't stop to talk to Kevin Sullivan, I don't know if Richard would have even seen that guy.
This guy had everything though. Did you check out his table? He had sci-fi, horror, Disney,
superheroes. Oh yeah,
superheroes, Star Wars characters.
I'm glad I hate Christmas because I would have bought a bunch of shit off of him.
Oh no, I saw a bunch that I liked, but I know what would have happened. I would have come home with them. My wife would have been like, "Yeah, no, you're not putting that on the tree."
Right? Yeah.
Well, I got the Varan. I was going to get Anguirus too, and I think he had a Baragon too. So that was got some cool, very nice work.
Nice.
So check them out. The ornament.
So what did you guys pick up otherwise at the show?
The only stuff I got was from Vinegar Syndrome. Shout out to Vinegar Syndrome. I got the Camille Keaton Blu-ray box set and a couple other. I got the Laughing Dead. I spent like $150 at Vinegar Syndrome. Yep, there you go.
I got it too. These are the films. So we got Madeline, Tragic Ceremony, and Sex with the Witch.
I watched Sex with the Witch, and it's wild.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's probably the most graphic sex I've ever seen in a giallo.
Really?
I was like, wow, this is pretty wild.
Here's Madeline. Tragic ceremony. Crazies.
And I got the ornament. I got the town that dreaded sundown and the Warriors poster. You remember I got that, guys?
Oh yeah. Yep.
That was cool.
So I ran it at the last minute. I wasn't going to buy this, and then I was like, ah, screw it. So I went and got New York Ninja.
Oh yeah, I got one of those too, which is a fun movie.
Vinegar Syndrome. Really cool. Packaging.
Gorgeous packaging.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the weird thing is
that when I was at their table too, they got a lot of nice box art.
it's kind of big, but it's not going to fit on my shelf, but that's okay. And it's got, one of these things, got the book and all
Yeah,
sorts of
it's
cool
got a
stuff.
cool fold out thing.
And it's got the documentary from our buddies.
Yes, from our buddies Mike Ingold and Glenn Baisley, who did
Yep.
the Spookies documentary, which is really very interesting. It's a fun, schlocky, trauma kind of movie.
Cool. I also picked up Double Exposure on Christmas.
Yeah, that movie is amazing. It's
Yeah.
like the best, worst giallo you've ever seen.
Cool. Love it. And then I got a couple Phyllis Davis classics. We got the Terminal Island, which I watched.
Which is, yep, I watched that over the weekend, which is amazing. And God, Sweet Sugar, she looks gorgeous in that. That's a great disc.
Oof. So that's all I got. So I didn't buy too much stuff. And again, I bought all that at the Vinegar Syndrome table. So we went down to New Jersey to buy stuff from the guys that I buy.
That we could have met in Connecticut. Yeah,
Well, we had another stop afterwards, the record store, right?
Yeah.
So that was also in our travels.
Yeah. So we went to a brand new opening day at what was it called?
Vinyl Addiction.
Vinyl Addiction.
Which is in
North Arlington.
North Arlington, New Jersey. Tiny record store, predominantly hard rock and heavy metal. They had some, punk rock and some classic rock, and it was a very tiny store, but they had some great finds and some really good deals to be had.
And it was packed.
Cool posters on the wall too.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Those frame posters. Like I think there was like an Overkill one from like the Power and Black EP, or maybe Feel the Fire, right? And there was that.
There was all
Maiden, the old Maiden poster from '81.
They were all real vintage posters and flyers
Yeah.
from the 70s and early 80s.
Yeah, very cool.
I think the owners were shocked at how many people were in the store. They're like, "Wow, this is a great opening day." It's like, holy.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, they seem to do really well. Hopefully they'll continue to do well because there's not many stores like that.
No,
as you guys know.
Yeah.
Vinyl's got some kind of a resurgence now. New vinyl reissues. New albums that come out on vinyl.
Yep. Exactly. So that was our day. What'd you think of Town That Dreaded Sundown, Rich?
I thought it was not as good as I thought it was.
Yeah.
I thought I liked it more.
Got to put it in perspective,
a
Rich.
while ago. It's a little boring.
It's a slow burn.
It's slow. Yeah. There's a lot of talking and things like that in between the kills, but just the flow of the movie. And then there's those weird moments where the music is just totally opposite of a horror movie. It just doesn't fit. It's like a made for TV movie, but it's a horror movie with a narrator that's telling the story.
Yeah, I mean, the guy who made that film is the same guy who did Boggy Creek, and I think that's kind of his thing.
Yeah,
it's
like a docudrama. It's
docudrama. Yeah,
it's not quite a documentary. It's not quite. Yeah.
But I like the narration perspective. I like them talking about the events like a newscaster almost throughout it, which is cool. It's different for a horror movie. But yeah, I thought it was kind of slow in parts and overall not as great as I thought it was. But it's great to have for the collection. I remember it's classic.
There is a modern sequel.
Right. Almost like a sequel / retelling. It's a little bit of both.
That's a great point. Yeah. And it's also just called The Town That Dreaded Sundown.
Right.
To make things more confusing. But that's pretty good too. That's worth checking out.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
Yeah, it's good, Pete. I got the Blu-ray on that one.
It's a couple good scenes in the original though. Couple really good scenes. Yeah.
It's because it's definitely has its creepy moments.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, it's got Sackhead Jason before it was Sackhead Jason.
It was right.
Yeah.
Right. So and the record store when we were there, I got Saxon.
Nice.
That was cool. And this band, if you guys ever heard of them, 220 Volt.
Oh yeah, that's a good album. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they were Swedish, right?
Yep.
If I'm correct. Swedish melodic metal band.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Good one.
They had a couple
I had that on
records.
cassette like a million years ago.
Yeah, it's a good album.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, good finds.
So it was a good day. It was a good day down in New Jersey, down in Rich's neck of the woods. So, or sort of.
Yeah, then we had some great lunch at Harold's.
Yep, Harold's Famous Deli, the alternate Harold's Famous Deli in Lyndhurst, New Jersey,
Lyndhurst, New Jersey.
not the other Harold's Famous Deli in Edison, New Jersey.
Yes.
Which was down by Vintage Vinyl, which closed.
Yes, unfortunately, because I would always go to Vintage Vinyl and then go eat at Harold's in Lyndhurst.
So all a good day. And now here we are this coming weekend. That's now the next thing we're going to talk about here on the agenda. So Chris, you want to tell us what we're in store for this coming weekend?
So yeah, this weekend, Pete and I are attending the 14th annual Exhumed Films 24-hour horror movie marathon. For those of you guys not familiar with it, Exhumed Films were a bunch of guys in 1997 who were just young kids at the time, and they had this ridiculous idea to run old horror movies from the 80s and 70s off original 35 millimeter theatrical films in movie theaters. And it's such a crazy idea because 1997 was probably the height of home video. VHS was still going strong and DVD was better than ever. So these guys truly were pioneers, and they helped usher in something that eventually just blew up. And lots of people, myself included, got involved. But these guys were truly pioneering and one of the first. So long story short, in 1997, they started doing this in South Jersey, Philly area. In 2007, it was their 10th anniversary. They'd already shown hundreds of movies, and they said, okay, let's do something crazy for a 10th anniversary, because this is unheard of that they never thought they'd last this far, kind of like a band who never thought they'd last 10 years.
And was it always in the same place?
No, they bounced around a little bit in like I said, it was South Jersey, Philly, but always in that area. And they did move around a little bit. But for their 10th anniversary, they said, okay, let's do, and they had done, plenty of double and triple features, and they'd even done movies that were times when they did like 5 movies or 6 movies in a day. But they said, okay, for our 10th anniversary, we're going to do a 24-hour marathon where their projector will not stop running for 24 hours. It'll be movie, and then the movie will run into old vintage movie trailers, and then it runs into the next movie. And it was an unexpected hit. And just like anything, the first year was a hit. And then so they did it again another year and another year. And the one hard, they've had some rules over the years for their marathon, but the hard and fast rule was always that if they played at a marathon, they would not rerun it again at another marathon. And of course, I'm wearing one of the shirts from one of the horror-thons from a few years ago. But of course, the other thing I guess I'm forgetting to say is that nobody knows what they're going to play. It is all one mystery movie after another. When you do get to the event in the morning, they will give you a sheet of paper which will have a very, very vague clue. So it'll say like movie number 1 will be like slasher classic. Movie number 2 will be like rubber monster movie, but not the one you're thinking of. So and they give you pens, and you fill it out, and you put it in the ballot box. You put your name, and at the end of the 24 hours, they tabulate it, and whoever the top 3 or 4 or 5 people that get the most points win prizes. And let me tell you, the prizes are pretty spectacular. And yeah, it's a lot of fun because all the program is off vintage 35 millimeter film. So these are movies the way they were intended to be seen, the way they were originally distributed, 30, 40, 50 plus years ago. You know, you can watch your DVD and your Blu-rays and your streaming all you want, but it is not the way these movies were originally distributed back in the day. And it's awesome, you know. And if you're not into this sort of thing, you have no idea how rare it is to acquire these materials. You know, I started doing my own film program because I was inspired by these guys. So I started doing my own show, Hudson Horror Show, which lasted for 9 years. And I did 18 of my own marathons, plus plenty of double and triple features. And yeah, it is a lot of work, it's a lot of time, and it's a lot of money to acquire these very, very rare materials. So yeah,
have you ever been to it where there's been a new release that year and you actually got to see it during the marathon, like a brand new movie?
No, because no new movies are done on 35 millimeter anymore.
So so that's a good question, Rich. So what's the most recent film they've played that you can think?
One time that they did show a recent movie was, and it was really good actually, in like 2013 or 14 or 2011, I don't know. There was a zombie movie called The Dead, and it's like a guy in Africa, and he's looking for he's trying to help a little kid. And that was pretty good. That was the only time that they ever did a premiere of a new movie. Wow. But the thing is, right, everything is off film. So everything is predominantly from the 70s and 80s. Sometimes they dip their toe into the 60s, and sometimes it's 90s and 2000s. You know, one year they played The Mist, which that was 2000s, I think.
Yeah.
Early 2000s, maybe 2003 or something.
I saw that on the list. I was surprised when I saw that.
Yes.
Like, that's kind of new, right? Yeah.
But the only
that's a great movie. That's a great Stephen King adaptation.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, predominantly it's all classic horror. So it's your Halloweens and Nightmare on Elm Streets and, you know, Dawn of the Dead and, you know, House by the Cemetery and Gates of Hell. But they also do quite a bit of obscure stuff and foreign stuff too from all over the world. So it's definitely a mixed bag of, which is great because, you know, you don't want the same,
right.
You don't want the same movie over and over again.
If you get, like, let's say Dawn of the Dead, which cut do you get? Do you get the theatrical American cut, or you get a surprise and you get maybe
again, that's part of the.
That's possible. That's cool.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Nice.
And that's part of the charm of the festival is you could get something completely outlandish. And I will, you know, at the 2019 marathon, they played something that I didn't think actually was real until I saw it on the screen, which was Cozilla, which is the late 70s re-release of Godzilla by Italian director Luigi Cozzi, who cut the film down, and then they did they took the black and white movie and they did some kind of weird process with oils, and if it's a different score, it's batshit crazy.
Cozilla, like C-O.
It's Cozzilla. Look at this. Rich Catino never. Yeah, it says. Rich Catino never heard. Now Rich Catino never heard of it. Now I always knew about this for years. But hold on, to be able to and fuck somebody if they got a stupid bootleg DVD of it. To be able to see this projected off 35 millimeter film as it was projected in Italy in 1977 in Philly, you know, in 2019 was mind blowing. But those are the sort of rarities that you get at this show.
Wait, so it's kind of like the American recut where they shuffled the footage and they put in Raymond Burr, but they did an Italian version with Italian subtitles?
Yes. So there's...
wow.
I never knew this existed.
I had no idea.
And Rich, there's no subtitles. What the guys to make it you know, further complicated, the guys at Exhumed Films got the foreign print and had to hook up a second projector and create and project their own subtitles onto the film. So this is the level of dedication
That's
that
awesome.
these guys have to this sort of, presentation. It's not like you can't see this kind of stuff anywhere else. And I don't care if Cozilla's on YouTube, it's not the same experience as seeing it. I mean, I couldn't believe it when it came on screen. I was like, oh my God.
And guys, that I'm a big Godzilla fan. I'm ashamed of myself.
Yeah.
I didn't even know this existed. Now I got to see this. This is awesome.
So that's the kind of show in it. Their movies
cool.
run the gamut. I mean, typically you'll get a couple popular movies. You'll get some super obscure movies. There'll be foreign movies. There's always usually a zombie movie, an animals attack movie, a couple slasher movies. Sometimes they throw in a made-for-TV movie, one or two rubber monster movies. There'll always be like a sci-fi / horror movie. Sometimes there's a movie where you're like scratching your head going, is this even a horror movie? But it's kind of dark or it's connected somehow. But again, 14 movies in a row. Yeah, there's always a couple that you won't like, but there's always plenty where you're like, that was amazing.
Right, where you see something new that you never saw before, like that Cozilla.
Exactly.
A nice surprise. That's
exactly.
Awesome.
So yeah, it's a lot of fun. They did not do it last year because of COVID, but this is the 14th marathon overall. So this will be my 13th 24-hour marathon. And it's always fun to experience it through someone's brand new eyes. So I'm wondering how Pete's going to do. I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
I'm a newbie here. This is the first time, so I am a 24-hour virgin here. So yeah.
But I think. Listen, I know Pete watches a lot of movies at home, so I think he's going to do good. Some people. I mean, I have buddies that have ants in their pants. They could not do a fraction of this show.
That's a long time to sit there and just watch movies straight through. You got to take a break.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, and you get a wristband, so it's not like a concert where you're locked in. You're free to come and go. And listen, there are plenty of people that come late. There's plenty of people that leave early. There's plenty of people that will disappear for 6 hours or 8 hours. There's not many, myself included. I never usually sit there for 24 hours. I'll go take a walk or go out to eat, or, I usually, go to the hotel and halfway through shower and change my clothes and come back. Do whatever, because 24 hours it's tough, Rich. It is not easy.
Yeah.
And you feel like shit afterwards, when the show is over. And
then you got to drive 3 hours back home.
And which I don't do anymore.
No,
I'm going down Friday night, staying over so I could be there first thing Saturday morning. The show starts at noon on Saturday and runs straight through till noon on Sunday. And then then I go back to the hotel and sleep for a couple hours, then get up and eat, and then sleep a couple more hours and wake up. And I don't drive home till Monday morning, but I still feel like crap because it's like the worst, not hangover. What do you call it when you're
jet lag?
Jet lag. That's it.
Yeah. You're just awake for so long. Yeah.
Yeah. Where you're just awake and in a seat and just, it does really feel like the worst. I've had way worse jet lag going with Frank White to Europe and back than I've way less jet lag doing European trips than going to the show. But if you like horror movies and you appreciate the rarity of what you're seeing, there's people that are like, oh, well, I could watch 24 hours worth of DVDs at my house. Yeah, it's not the same thing.
It's not, because you could just fall asleep on your couch and take a nap and you're fine.
Yeah,
it's different.
My wife goes to me today. She goes, well, you should have no problem because you watch movies here in your chair and you fall asleep. I'm like, well, my chair is pretty comfortable. I don't think it's quite as comfortable in the Cologne.
No. And it's funny because when, this is a new theater for them because they ran all the previous marathons in the International House in Philadelphia. Now this marathon is at the Colonial Theater in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania.
Home of the Blob.
Yes, home of the original Blob with Steve McQueen in the 50s. And if anybody watches this before Saturday and they're interested, tickets are still available. I believe just go to exhumedfilms.com or find Exhumed Films on Facebook and there'll be a ticket link. But yeah, this is their first time at this new theater. And I know somebody had posted on Facebook when Exhumed Films first said, hey, we're bringing the marathon back. Somebody was like, oh, cool, at the Colonial. How comfortable are the seats? And I had to click and I'm like, dude, there is no seat that's comfortable for 24 hours. I'm sorry. Even your couch is not comfortable for 24 hours.
Yeah, you're not there. You're not going to be there like, oh, yeah, this is great. You know,
They only do this once a year, guys.
Yeah, they do it every year, right around Halloween, and it's usually not the same like Chiller. It's usually the end of October or the first weekend in November, depending on how things fall. But what was really nice this year was, because I do like to go to Chiller Theatre and I like to go to the Exhumed 24-hour marathon. Typically, they're on the same weekend. So this was great that they were opposing weekends, and hopefully that'll continue, because this was much easier. Because I used to go to Chiller on the Friday, then drive from there and sleep over in Philly, and I'm getting really old, so the olds are creeping in, fellas. So this opposite weekends is much easier.
Well, we'll see how the old man you're taking does this Saturday, right?
Yeah.
So in addition to all that we just told you, Chris and I have also decided to put together a list of, I guess, hopefuls, that films that we hope or we would like to see, predictions of what they may play, what we may like. So right. I'll have Chris go first and rattle off his list.
All right, cool. They always start with a bang. The show always starts and ends with a bang. And yeah, I was going to say, we were starting to say they will not show movies that they played at a previous marathon. So there's like 180 something films that they played at previous marathons, like Halloween and Nightmare on Elm Street 1 and Halloween 3 and Nightmare 3. And none of those movies will be repeated. So that's why none of those are on our list. And I kind of base the list off of how they used to run the previous shows. So like movie number 1, always a bang, a popular movie. Since we're going to be in the Colonial Theater, which was the site of the original Blob, the 1988 Blob remake was a lot of fun. I don't think they ever did it at a marathon. I have the book that has all the previous shows. I don't have it with me, but I don't think they ever did it. So I thought that would be a good opener. Movie number 2 is typically a giant monster movie, like a Q or some of the Godzilla movies or Mighty Peking Man in the past. So my thinking was maybe Gorgo, or the I would love to see, even though it's a long one, the 1976 King Kong. I would be very happy.
Have you ever seen my favorite? Have you seen Varan?
Varan, I have not.
You've never seen it at all? Wow.
Oh no, I have. Not off film.
Not at this. That would be very.
That would be cool.
Black and white too, like Godzilla.
And of course, the show is always predicated on what they can get on 35 millimeter film. But these guys have already proven that they can get shit that nobody else can. So if anybody can get Varan, it would be these guys. I mean, they've shown at this festival, stuff like Rodan, War of the Gargantuas. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely, that could happen. New movie number 3 is often an anthology movie. So I went with The House That Dripped Blood, which I just recently rewatched. Number 4 would be, let's say, a slasher sequel. They're always big on that. So I put Maniac Cop 2. They always have a sci-fi horror movie. So I put Forbidden World, which is a great one. They always like to have a 70s classic in there somewhere. So for my movie number 6, another one I saw recently, The House of Dark Shadows. They do often have blaxploitation horror movies like Blackula or Dr. Black and Mr. Hyde. So I put a great blaxploitation zombie movie, Sugar Hill. They always usually have a movie that you're just like scratching your head and you're like, what the fuck? Sometimes it's foreign stuff. So there's a foreign movie that I've never heard, that I've never watched, that I always wanted to, called The Vij. It's like Vij. I think it's Russian. I think it's from the 60s. I think there are film prints out of there, out there somewhere. So it's like, okay, let's put something weird on there that I never saw. They always, after midnight is when things get really weird and they pull out the wackier movies. So for my number 9, I wrote wacky movie, and I put another one I saw recently, Billy the Kid versus Dracula, which is just terrible. But these guys love to program terrible but funny movies, after the midnight hour. Again, another one of my classic. That's a terrible movie, but I absolutely love it. And it's a rubber monster movie. They love the rubber monster movies. Octoman, which is one of my favorites. For movie number 11, sometimes they like to throw in made-for-TV movies. So I put Gargoyles, which technically is another rubber monster movie, but that's okay. It's my list, so I'm going with it. Another slasher, because slasher movies are very popular. And another one they did not play at a marathon, but there are film prints out there. Happy Birthday to Me. Movie number 13 is almost always an animals attack movie. There's a really good animals attack movie. Prints are rare, but again, these guys could do it. So I put Razorback, the Russell Mulcahy giant boar movie.
Yeah, good choice.
And then they always want to end with a bang and show something that sends the people home happy. So for me, the way to end the festival, movie number 14, is Dead Alive, also known as Brain Dead, the Peter Jackson zombie movie. And again, there are film prints out there. I know I've seen it off film. These guys ran it, years ago, but not as part of it. I don't think ever as part of a marathon. So yeah, that's my list. I would be very happy if these movies played. We'll see if even one of them gets played. Who knows?
Cool. That's a great list.
Yeah, I think it would be good. And yeah, it always flows. It's always a very diverse list, because you want, if you don't like this, then you'll like this.
Cool. So what I did, so Chris sent me a link to a website where someone had kind of put, if not all of them, it's a good chunk of most of the films that they have played, the 180 or whatnot that they've played before. So basically what I did initially, and I took kind of what you said about kind of mixing up with like slashers and old 70s classics and giant monster, rubber monster, all that sort of thing. So I had sci-fi, horror, all that sort of thing. So what I did was I took a quick gander at the list of all of the previously played films.
And there was a lot.
And there's a lot, yeah. So I was like, all right.
I think it's 180 something.
Yeah, it's a lot. So then I put together my list of 14, and then I went back to the list, and which was cool is on that website they had like the cover, the cover, the movie poster picture, cover. And that's better than just a list of films. So I went through that again to see if anything on my list was on there, and I didn't see any. So I was like, all right. So, and I know my list doesn't quite fit as well with the format like yours did, but I was like, whatever, I was like, after a while, it was like my head was ready to explode. So, right. So here's what I put down. So, Stuart Gordon's Doggone.
Nice.
Which is again fairly recent-ish. I don't know if that's too far in the recent times to be able to get film prints of. I don't know. I have like 2 on my list that might be dicey with that.
I think that one probably, would be okay.
Probably right on the cusp, right? It's
because I think I'm trying to think. It was like 2000, maybe like 15 or so, where the studios were like, okay, that's it. No more 35 millimeter film distribution. Everything has got to be digital.
Yeah. So we'll see. Number 2, Wes Craven's People Under the Stairs.
Nice.
Which I think that's kind of like, maybe one of the big ones, right?
Yeah.
Giant Rubber Monster. I would absolutely love to see a 35 millimeter print of Godzilla Raids again, the second Godzilla film with him and Anguirus going at it, right? Yes. I think that would be cool to see in the theater, right? Yeah. My next one, a film I've never seen, Enigma from Lucio Fulci.
Nice.
I heard it's terrible. I don't care. I've never seen it. I think that'd be cool.
It's pretty bad, but again, part of the charm of this festival is to see this stuff on the big screen.
Yeah.
Because there's no better way to see it.
Right. Then I got a couple of 70s films here. The Beast in the Cellar, Ty Gun's cool, weird British flick with the two sisters who are harboring their monstrous brother in the basement type of thing. Hammer. I would love to see any Hammer film at this festival, I think. I picked Fear in the Night, which has Joan Collins and Peter Cushing. Great film. Really kind of twisted.
That's a good one.
That'd be really cool. Yeah.
So
Might be nice to see some Vincent Price here. So how about The Tingler?
Tingler's great.
Yeah. Rubber Monster film. The Monster of Piedras Blancas.
That's awesome.
That would
Which
be
they do have a print of. So
they do.
These guys do have it.
And I did not see it on their list of previously played. So
do they, as you guys were mentioning these, do they do the Universal monsters too? Do they play those?
Typically not, Rich. That's like too far back.
Oh, okay.
They typically stay like 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s ish.
I would love it if they did, but yeah, I was going to pick one of those, but I said, I don't know if they go that far back. So
they typically don't. But listen, they could. The great thing with, as you guys know, the Universal monster movies, they're really short.
Yeah.
So
70 minutes at top.
The main thing is if they could get a print of it,
right.
It's in the realm of possibilities.
Yeah. All right. Next up, a slasher film, Graduation Day.
Classic.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I saw that one.
Yeah, it's a classic. And then a movie that I don't even know what you call The House on Tombstone Hill. It's just kind of like this really weird European occult haunted house type of thing. It's a really wacky, cool movie, but that'd be kind of cool. Then some sci-fi horror, The Entity from the 70s.
Okay.
And then another slasher classic, Bloody New Year. It's movie number 12.
Don't remember that one.
Number 13, sort of an animals attack, but it's also like a wacky 50s sci-fi giant monster classic, Tarantula.
Oh, with Clint Eastwood for 2 seconds.
Yeah, that would be a hoot, I think. And then number 14, I would love to see a giallo film at this festival. The Red Queen Kills 7 Times. I think would be a load of fun. And then I had as kind of like an honorable mention or a wild card. I don't remember seeing it on the list. I would, I had to throw one zombie film in here, The Living Dead at the Manchester Morgue.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be really cool. So there's 15 films there. So.
I think I'll take your list over mine, Pete.
I don't know. I like your list.
But I mean, these are all possibilities for sure.
So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is next week, Chris and I are going to come back and just
if we survive.
If we survive, you may not see me next week. I don't know. They may be scraping my carcass off the colonial floor.
24 hours of watching movies, dousing caffeine and eating shitty food as fast as you can because you want to run back into the theater to watch the next movie.
No sleep.
Yeah, it does a number on you.
You're gonna walk out of there zombies.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
I will do one of the Manchester morgues. I will be one of the Phoenixville morgue, right? Yeah.
So that line in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, who will survive and what will be left of them? Oh yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. That'll be describing me and Pete and 700 other people come Sunday morning.
Yeah. So we'll see. So we'll report back next week and let you know if any of our films were played, right. And if not, which ones were. And then Rich will, if we survived, and it was, and if it was actually,
I'll have to check out some movies.
Yeah, and then we'll be trying to recruit you next year. So
Cool.
Rich is like, yeah, hell no.
I never know. Maybe I'll do it.
I never thought I would do something like this. I mean, when Chris was first talking about this thing, I was laughing. I'm like, oh, really? And the more he talked about it, the more I was like, that could be fun.
I mean, listen, it's great, but it's also torture at the same time.
Horror torture, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God. So we'll see how it goes. So that is coming up Saturday. Exhumed 24-hour film festival in
Horror Marathon. Yep.
Horror Marathon in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. So
yep.
Cool. Enjoy, guys.
Yeah, thank
You
you.
will, Rich. We'll let you know how it goes. Rich may be getting a text from me at like 3:00 in the morning. Like, why did I sign up for this?
Or it'll be like, dude, they're playing Varan.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
And sometimes they sneak in some music stuff. I know one year they did Alice Cooper and Monster Dog, which is an awesomely bad movie. One year they did the Alice Cooper concert movie, the Welcome to My Nightmare concert movie.
Yeah.
And I know they've been talking about running a film print of Kiss Meets the Phantom for years, which I would love to see.
What about Trick or Treat, the one with Ozzy and who else is in that?
They ran that at a marathon.
And that?
Yep, they
Who
did.
else in that? Ozzy and
Gene Simmons.
Yeah.
Gene Simmons,
And
yes.
Skippy from Family Ties and Fastway did the soundtrack.
That's right. Yes.
That one they did run.
Cool.
Did they do Phantom of the Paradise? I don't remember if I saw that on the list.
Yes, they did do
Yeah.
Phantom of the Paradise,
Yeah.
which I missed a chunk of because I don't like musicals. So as soon as that one came up, I'm like, all right, I'm running to the room and changing my clothes and showering and coming back.
Yeah.
So I missed like the first 40 minutes. I'll have to watch it again one of these days.
I'm not much into musicals either. I know people
Yeah.
love that film, so I got to revisit it because I never got what all the hoopla was about. But
Right. But people love it, you know.
yeah.
But yeah, so sometimes there is some, music related stuff. I remember one year too, they ran this movie. It came on like 3 or 4 in the morning, and it was like, I can't remember the name, but shortly afterwards, I was watching a trailer compilation, and the trailer for the movie came up, and Denise looked at me and was like, is this a real movie? Because it was from like the 60s, and it was like Pinocchio meets the Monsters or something like that. And it was one of those like acid trip kind of things, and it was like done in German and then dubbed, and I can't even remember how they did it. I think they used puppets and live action, and it was really bad. But that's the sort of thing that comes
That sounds
up.
mildly interesting, though.
Yeah. And well, it was great for like, and I think it was a musical. So like for the first like 20 or 25 minutes, everybody was laughing and it was hysterically funny. But then like, once you go past that and but you're ready to kill yourself by the time it's at the 80-minute mark. It's like, oh God, please, Jesus, let this end. At first it was great, and then afterwards you're like, oh God, get me out of here.
Enough, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was, I have to look it up. I think it was like Pinocchio meets the Monsters, but that's the sort of thing. Like anything can happen. They showed one year, they showed Teenage Mother, which is like an anti-pregnancy movie, which ends in like a live birth. One year they showed Wicked, which is this awesomely funny giallo, basically from the 70s, where the entire movie is done in split screen.
Oh yeah, who's in that?
Kooky from Kooky, Lend Me Your Comb. I can't remember his name.
Yeah,
And Tiffany Bowling is in that.
That's who I was thinking of. Yeah,
Yes.
I was reading an interview with her recently where she's like, screw that movie because you can't even watch it in like modern day, but with the screen split like it just doesn't work. I don't know what they were
It's
doing.
wild. You really need to watch it on a big screen because literally this screen is cut in half.
Yeah. Oof.
But it's fun. But it's a lot of fun. So yeah, anything can happen. They've done movies where like I said, they got foreign prints where they did their own subtitling. They've done movies where they had to pass out 3D glasses and they would do a movie in 3D. So, anything is possible. Once they did the movie, The Monsters Crash the Pajama Party, where the monsters literally come off the screen and they had people in costumes and masks that would kind of run out from the screen and go through the audience and then run. They had to time it to then run back onto the screen. So it's a lot of fun, but
that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's
literally anything can happen. So the Tingler with wired seats, could that happen? Absolutely. I could see it happening.
All right.
That's how they did the Tingler. They used to wire the seats, right? I think it was called Percepto, and so many seats they had electric buzzers, and they would buzz you, and give you a mild electric shock. So could that happen at this weekend?
You
I
never
would
know.
love it. And listen, Pete, I would like to get buzzed in more ways than one. So let's hope, because Phoenixville is the place with the most breweries in the country per square foot.
Per square foot. It's crazy.
So yeah, I'm predicting a lot of drinking. And hell, I might have a couple too, just because. So
yeah. I'm not going to indulge too much, because me and alcohol sitting in a seat watching films, not a good idea.
Tough.
Yeah. I gotta stay away.
Especially after some greasy burgers and some popcorn and God knows what else.
Yeah, exactly. So pray for us, everybody.
Yeah.
It should be fun, though. It should be fun. So thanks for watching. Tune in next week for kind of the recap of what happened on Saturday into Sunday morning. And we'll give you the whole lowdown. And then in 2 weeks, we are going to be revisiting kind of like part 2 of our look at the lovely ladies and scream queens. We're going to go to the gentlemen. We're going to talk about our 10 favorite male horror icons. All right. So that's coming up in 2 weeks. And in 3 weeks, we've got our 10 favorite post-2000 horror films. So the more modern stuff, we're going to pick out our 10 favorites. That's coming up in a couple of weeks. And we've got part 2 of the Scream Queens, right? We're going to circle around with that.
At some point we'll have to do that too. And
too much
coming up.
Yeah, too much to do. So stay tuned. So thanks for watching, everybody. This is on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. See you next week on the Monsters Den. For Rich Catino and Chris Allo, I am Pete Pardo. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you real soon. Take care.